everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, and I'm here with my awesome, as always, co-host, Daryl P. And today I am following Daryl P's lead. So, pose the question to me again, and I will start formulating thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So today's episode, I was just thinking, it's June, it's the summertime, right? Or maybe even July, whenever this goes up.
Yeah, early July.
Early July.
Yeah,
early July. It's early July.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's summertime, right? And so it's that time of year when people are maybe looking for jobs, especially in that K through 12 realm. Or you're looking for jobs maybe at studios. Those summer jobs have already been acquired and everything. So thinking about those interview moments when you're looking for those jobs, what are some questions that you have been asked during interviews that you maybe were off-putting or that you really liked? And then what are some questions that you've been asked in an interview, or what are some questions that you wish you would have been asked in an interview that you were like, I could have really just gone off and told you about this, but I just never got the opportunity to really ask you, let someone know about that.
Okay. I'll start with something I wish they would have asked is why I am so passionate about teaching. No one ever asked.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been asked. And I'm just like they'll ask something maybe in that vein. I can't even think of what they would say that's in that vein, but something where I would be thinking that, okay, maybe that's coming up because I'm like, I know that answer. Like, I know why I love doing this. Yeah. And then they never do. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, I just really need you to know how passionate I am about really making sure my students have like a high quality dance education, and nobody ever asks.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating because a lot of the questions they do ask, I always feel as though while they may be important in their own way, I don't feel that they give a full picture. So I guess on that note, things I've been asked, I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? So I've been asked things about classroom management. If you have a student who's like refusing to do blah, 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 like, what would you do? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know, shit. I'm like, it depends on the kid.
Right.
Which that's always a thing. Like those situational type questions, like my knee-jerk response to that is, well, it depends. Like, what type of environment am I teaching in? What grade level is this? What type of history do I have with that student? Is it a new student? Is it a student who I've known for like years? Or even a student where I've like taught their siblings? Like, all of that has an impact on how I'm going to address a situation.
Right.
They always ask the behavior type questions of, I guess, like if a kid doesn't want to be there or they're being disrespectful or belligerent. And then I'm just like, again, it still depends. But I'm like, hey, yo, as long as they don't touch me, we can probably talk them down. They touch me though. Might not have this job. Might not. Like, just put that out there. But yeah, then there have been questions that I pertain more so to dance background and training, which again, I don't have an issue with that per se, but the emphasis was on performance background. And again, not knocking people who do have like that extensive performance background, because I know a few that are excellent educators. I also know a few that are horrible educators. And so I'm like, well, that to me should not be a huge part of you deciding if I'm qualified. I know collegiate level, it gets me because, everyone wants a big name because that's going to draw more attention, potentially bring you more money in, all that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, if the people providing instruction are not providing quality instruction, or they're not connecting with the students in a way that they're able to really receive instruction, then that's defeating the whole purpose. And then that's how you lose numbers. And then that's how positions and programs get cut. And then people go and be looking like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, okay, you dumb fuck. What happened was you were more concerned about looks instead of the actual quality. And again, I say there are people who amazing performers and amazing educators. I'm not saying those things are mutually exclusive, but there are people, I have worked with people that it was like, you know what? You are a beautiful mover.
Yeah.
Maybe shouldn't be teaching people's kids.
Correct.
Like just like that's rough. Like you shouldn't be here. So that and that's happened in most interviews, questions along those lines, because everybody wants a big name. Everybody wants that money draw. But it's like, but also I'm actually qualified to teach these courses.
Right.
And I actually love teaching. And I actually have a degree in education. Like all I've done is educate. Like that's just kind of all I've done. Like that's just what I do.
Right.
Like yes, I've put up works different places. Yes, I've performed in things. I was like, but 99% of my career has been education. So I'm like, I think I'm highly qualified for this. So yeah. If I think of any other questions that have come up, I will throw them out there. But I know that is the performative part and never really being asked why I'm passionate. Those two definitely come to mind.
The one question that really has surprised me, and it happened, I don't know if it happened in the most recent interview that I had, but I know it has happened before, is asking like, how does dance support the right?
How does piss me off?
Right. How does dance support the other core subjects, right? And so like honestly, like I don't mind that so much, like because I do want people to know that like we do support the core subjects, right? And vice versa. I want them to know that the core subjects actually support us as well.
Yes.
And it's definitely a mutual thing. I definitely want administrators and principals to know that. The passionate about teaching and passionate about dance. Like I really want more questions about that, because I feel like you get to see like the why I'm there, right? Like who cares what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna I'm just gonna say how I support literacy.
Yes. Put it in the atmosphere.
Right.
Put it out there.
Because here's the thing, I'm going to support literacy through the fact that I love to teach, right? Through the fact that I want my students to have a whole, like, well-rounded education. Like that's how that they're going to be supported in other classes. That's how I'm going to support literacy. That's how I'm going to support, ESL students. That's how I'm going to support our CRI students, right? Like all that is connected, right? So instead of asking those like, individualized questions on these very specific, like, how would you handle like this particular population? get down to the root of like why I'm even at like a teacher, right? Why am I
Yes.
a dancer? And I think that those will help answer some of those smaller questions about what it is that I do. Um, yeah. What have you ever like have your all of your interviews ever been one-on-one or have they been panel? And like what has been like your favorite type of interview when you've applied for dance positions?
Mm, I want to say they've all been one on one.
Hmm.
I want to say that because I want to say the panel stuff I've done wasn't for teaching positions. It was something else random. So I want to say it was all one on one. I definitely would prefer one on one though. I do know that I don't like panels. I'm
Yeah.
like, first of all, there's too many voices. I don't want to talk to all of y'all. That opens up the range of how many questions can really be asked. Way too far
Right.
for me. Like
Yeah.
so, one person is sufficient. I can maybe um, sweet talk them into being kind to me or something. But with a panel, somebody's going to be a douche. There's
Right.
always one.
There's always one.
So yeah, no, I definitely prefer the one on one, and I feel like you can get a better read when it's one on one because from what I have seen, most people seem to be a little bit more comfortable.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, you're going to be potentially nervous regardless.
Right.
But if it's just one person and they're like very personable and you're like, okay, like, I think this is okay, you can kind of relax a little bit easier, I think, than trying to read like two, three, four, five different people.
Right.
That for me, I would always be on edge that I'm just like, okay,
Hmm.
who's going to say something next? Like, okay, what are they going to
Right.
say? Like, what's their, they seem to be thinking like this, but this person seems to be like this. And it's like, no, 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 that's okay. Like, I'll take my chances with the one. Because even if they turn out to be a douche, then at least it's only one of them.
Right.
And I can adjust myself accordingly for that situation.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a panel interview? Oh, child. Child.
I know. I know. Actually, my current position is probably, let's see, when I guess I really, that was one-on-one panel, one-on-one. So my very first dance job I applied to right out of college was a one-on-one with the principal. The second one was a panel with a parent, a principal, and a counselor. The third was one-on-one with the principal. And then there was another job that I applied to in between, actually one of those where I had a panel, which it was like so it was for an assistant, like a second dance teacher. So it was with the dance teacher, the head dance teacher, the two counselors, a principal. Hell, I thought it was the secretary. I'm like, what's she doing? What
I'm
you
looking
looking
like, why the
for?
counselors are in here? I'm like, there's a lot of questions that need answers.
Right, right. I have had, so that was, I did not get that job, but I was also thankful I did not get that job, because, yeah. Then I had another, it was kind of panel, but it was like the school principal, the administrator over dance, and then the head dance teacher. And then when I moved to the area and I was applying in DCPS, all of those were panel interviews.
Okay.
Yeah,
Move your mic over.
it might be covered by, is this better? Is that better? Is
Yes.
this better? Do I need to hold
Yes.
it like this or can
No,
I
no,
hold it
no.
like
It
that?
was rubbing it. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
so
Okay.
it's making like a sound over you, and I'm trying to hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
my
no,
bad.
you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so it was all of those were panel interviews, and
I did do one. There was
yeah,
one.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was they're intimidating. They are very intimidating, I think. I feel like there's less focus because like you know, it's like one person has a feeling about you, right? And so that could really throw off the whole entire
Mm,
group, or vice versa, where like the whole entire group feels as like strongly for you either way, and one person doesn't. It's like, you know, like, what's the point then at that point, right? Like
mhm.
if you and I are interviewing somebody, I don't like them, you like them, like,
Yeah.
oh, are we going to hire them or not, right? Or, you know, I don't know what the purpose of a panel interview, what the purposes of panel interviews are, but anyhow, um, yeah, no. So I've had them. I dislike them. I think for dance jobs, I feel like if you can't, sorry, I feel like if you can't, here's what I think. If you are going to a school to teach dance or a studio to teach dance, it needs to be either, if the former teacher is not gone, it needs to be that teacher.
Mhm.
If you're going to do a panel, it needs to be that former teacher and an administrator, either the school principal or the administrator that is over that department. That's
Mhm.
it. Or an administrator who is, here's another one, an administrator who is knowledgeable in the subject area of dance.
That would be amazing.
That would be great. So that way, you know, exactly, like when I interviewed for this job, I had an administrator who interviewed me who was not a dancer, but was an artist.
Okay.
So, and but understood a lot of dance, right? And so like could really ask pointed questions about the type of dance or the styles of dance I taught, and like understood it with like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like if you come in and here, you did math and like that's your thing, and now you're the administrator over dance. Like you don't know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. You don't really know. You're asking questions from a paper, but it's like I could be feeding you a bunch of garbage, and it could be, or I could be feeding you a bunch of stuff that's awesome, and you're, because you don't understand it, or
Mhm.
because you're lost in like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You're giving me all this dance lingo that I don't know, but I guess maybe it sounds right. But someone else comes talking to you more like an educational like jargon that you understand. You're gonna find that person a little bit more qualified because you're like, oh, they knew about, you know, SLOs, and they knew
Mhm.
about, you know, the lesson planning, and they knew how to plan the objective and everything. But that person knows absolutely nothing about like what's the difference between Vaganova and Cicchetti.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, so it would be wise to have someone who's knowledgeable in dance
Yes.
interviewing.
Agree. 100%. 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, because the one panel was when because I had to re-interview for my position at Northwestern when they were adding VPA.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody on that panel had a dance background. And I'm just like, first of all, y'all all know me. Like, come on now. I was like, you know
Yeah.
me, you know I know I know what to do, you know I know how to teach. I don't be having a whole bunch of problems for real, for real. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I be coming out my mouth sideways, but besides that, like educationally speaking, I don't have no problems. I'm like, so I don't understand why we're in here. But it was like the questions were just from a perspective that I'm like, that's not important to what I do.
Right.
Um, I don't understand why you're asking that. I mean, I can respond to it, but it's also that's not it's not giving a clear picture of my knowledge of dance and my knowledge of dance education.
Right.
It would be like maybe just my general knowledge of being an educator. So, like you were saying, like I could talk about SLOs back and forth, don't matter. I can talk about literacy tasks, like that's not an issue.
Right.
But does any of that speak to my knowledge and ability as a dance educator? No.
Right.
And so I'm like, but then no one in there knew what types of questions to ask to get to that type of information. So it was literally have you observed my class yet?
Right.
You've seen the concerts. just trust me. Let me keep my job, please.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
please don't fire me. Like,
Right.
I don't want to have to start over again.
Yeah.
Because when I got there, I was restarting the dance program, period, when I first got there.
Hmm.
They'd had a teacher and she had moved. I think she had been gone for maybe a year or two.
Hmm.
So there hadn't been dance.
That's so
So
weird how like that happens in this
yeah,
place. Like it's just like
yes.
how it just like you have the facility,
Mm-hmm.
two facilities, and how do you just be like, we're just not gonna use them rooms?
Mm-hmm. They were about that business apparently.
Yeah,
And I
we
was
just
like,
not
how
gonna use
y'all
them.
just don't have it?
Yeah.
And they just did not. And I want to say it was for 2 years because the seniors I had the prior teacher when they were freshmen.
Mm.
And they were like, yeah, I would have loved to have danced all 4 years. And I'm like, I am sorry.
Yeah.
I ain't know.
Yeah.
But it it was just weird, that panel, because one was there were two administrators, and then there was at the time our supervisor. I was gonna say advisor, supervisor,
Hmm.
who is not a dance person. Now she is an artist. She's a musician,
Hmm.
so that was helpful. It was also helpful that she liked me.
Hmm.
But nobody was a dancer, and it was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna answer these general ass questions then for you, and hope that I'm convincing enough.
Hmm.
And I don't think that that's an accurate assessment. But you know what? This has nothing to do with the topic, but similar vein in my head is that's like standardized testing. I'm
Hmm.
like, that doesn't really answer enough for me. I'm
Yeah.
like, some people are just really good at taking tests.
Yeah.
Some people are just horrible at taking tests. But if you ask them about that information, they can tell you about it.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, well, that's not fair. And it's the same in the interviewing process, that it's like, okay, you're asking these general ass questions. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, maybe I'm really good at answering them because I've been in the system and
Hmm.
I know how to talk that jargon.
Right.
But somebody coming in who hasn't had that experience could be highly qualified,
Right.
and they're not going to like get the time of day from you because they don't know that talk, and that's not fair.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, and I see that all too often. Or at least I saw that all too often, even in my earlier days of interviewing for positions. And there's a level of experience that comes with like, the things that as the longer that you teach. But it's always that my friend is going through this because he's looking for jobs now. But it's that whole like, your entry level position that's like, we need you to have experience. It's like, well, how can I have experience if I never get this, if I never get the a job to get the experience, right? And it's entry level. I can't enter and have experience unless I get there, and it's like,
that I hate that so much, because
yeah,
that's like getting into like collegiate teaching. That is a thing
yeah,
that they're like, oh, but we also want you to have years of experience. And I'm like, I kind of need to get in so I
right,
can get the experience. I was like, I'm telling you though, I have experience teaching.
yeah,
Like, I
right,
have been an educator. I was like, that part's not new. I just
right,
haven't done it here. Like, could
right,
please let me
yeah,
in?
right. Let me in. Knock, knock, knock. Like, can I, can I please,
Like, please,
can I
thanks.
come play? I just want to be able to like
Like, I just
start
want nice
somewhere.
things, please.
Yeah,
Literally that. Like, I just want the opportunity,
yeah,
please.
yeah. But what's like one tip that you feel like interviewing tip that you feel like has been really successful for you?
Hmm.
And this can be in general that like, that could also apply for like,
Yeah.
an aspiring dance teacher, dance
You know, I'm
educator.
gonna use this. One of my cohort members, because technically it's an exam, it's not an interview, but similar type of vibe a lot rides on it. Know who you are. Like, go in and just own who you are. You know what you know. And that's kind of all you can do. Like, just because I really want this position does not mean that once I go into this interview that I'm going to magically know some additional information. No, I know exactly what I know. And I'm confident in knowing what I know. I'm confident in my ability as an educator. As much grief as I got for how I ran my classroom, I'm like, but how often did y'all ever have to come? Like, how often was security called? How often were there problems? Not very. I was like, so as much as you dislike how I do things, my way is effective for me and my students get it. We have like well-oiled running machine. We got it. And I'm like, I can sit comfortably in that. And so even when I'm going into these interviews, trying to get these positions at these colleges, I can go in and I'm just like, okay, yes, this may be a new experience. However, I know me. I can handle this. I'm like, and this is why, because I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And it's because I know myself. So I think that's a very awesome tip. I need to apply it to myself as this exam approaches. In fact, I believe the day this goes up is the day that I take it.
Yeah.
And child, I'm sitting here like ready to throw up because I am anxious. I am over it. This has been some ridiculous stress. I'm sure there's some extra grays up in my head now. But every now and then I have a confident moment where I'm just like, bitch, you know what you know. Like, you just go up in there and fucking talk. Like, and if you don't know something, just be like, okay, well, you know what? I actually do not know that. However, these things that are similar, I can speak to that. Would you like for me to speak to it? And so just kind of, and it's a work in progress. It's like, if you're not naturally that type of person, then it is a constant reminding yourself that, no, but I actually am good. Like I self-esteem is trash over here, but I am always a good one for telling people, oh, but I know I'm a fucking excellent educator. I was like, that you won't take. I was like, there may be a million other things that I'm just like, oh, I'm not sure. Oh, maybe. Me being an educator though, oh no, I'm excellent at that. I was like, that there's no doubt in my mind. I know I'm great at that. I've seen it time and time again from my students making progress. Specifically the students who didn't want to be in my class.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know I'm great at this. So I can sit up in an interview and be like, yes, this is what I do. This is why I do it. These are the results I've gotten, period. You want me or not.
That was going to be my tip. You just said it. Just always finding ways to like, how are you making 100% of your students feel welcomed in your class? And I think how you do that is something that I think no matter if it's the dance teacher, if it's the administrator, if it's the secretary, if it's a parent, if it's the janitor that's in the panel.
Because they be having everybody up in there.
Everybody in the panel. Everybody wants to know how you are going to, and it could be anywhere. It could be at a K through 12. It could be at a dance studio. How are you making every student feel welcomed in your class? And how are you bringing each individual student's own personality? How are you letting that shine and be a part of the class? And I think if you can include that and find a way to include that in your interview, I think those are always like gold stars for bringing that up. For sure. Agreed. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry, guys. It's a short one this time. Yeah. We got things to do. I'm sorry. That's not nice. Y'all used to it. You're fine.
Yeah.
You guys are great. Hey, thanks again for joining us here at Dance Talk Realness. If you have any questions, comments, observations, anything you want us to talk about, be sure to drop us a line. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe, all that jazz across all the places where you can find us. And we look forward to bringing you some fresh new content next week. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.